So today on Moving Offline, we're going to be talking to two of the people behind the project Dumb Co. This is a flip phone that has been modified to have some of the niceties that most people are asking for, but without any of the distractions. We have Jack and Afreka from the company, and we're going to be having a discussion about what are some of the important things, what have they learned, and a cool project that is essentially bringing people together to live in this environment, to have a dumb phone only and enjoy that experience in a communal space. So, Jack, thank you for being here. Afreka, thank you for being here as well. Give us a little bit of background from each of you and how did you involve in this project and what is the thing that is exciting you the most?
Yes, I can go first. Thank you so much, Jose, for having us. We are so happy to be here today to talk to you about what we're doing at Dumb. Like you said, my name is Afreka, and I am the Communications and Public Affairs lead at Dumb, which means I handle a lot of our communications and press and supporting the team with inbound and sometimes outreach press and media opportunities as well. I think for me, I'm a Gen Zer, and I was on social media when I was 11, and I think I had my first phone when I was like 7, right before my 8th birthday. And so I have a really interesting relationship with the cell phone as a device that's been part of my life for so long, and then also a smartphone, which opened up this world of social media. And I found myself becoming really entrenched in it a little bit unhealthily at such a young age. I mean, my brother, who knows this story very intimately, said I stopped playing with him as a teenager and I would ignore him. And I'm part of the reason why he decided he never would get a social media account, because he saw me essentially become addicted to it. And having worked in the entertainment marketing industry and spending so much time having to source new trends and find out who the latest great content creator is, I started to get really burnt out and feel like I don't think this is good for my brain. And I spent about 9 months fully deactivated for the first time online, not even checking Instagram or TikTok on my computer. And serendipitously ended up meeting our CEO while wearing a "Offline is the New Luxury" t-shirt, actually. And so for me, this is really special to be part of this organization of getting people to be more present, because I think we have lost that ability to just really connect with each other face to face because we're always looking down. And I think that's the beauty of what we're trying to do and what we're seeing already in DC and New York. And thanks to amazing people on our team, especially Jack here, who's built such an amazing product, we've been able to see sort of the beginning phases of what that looks like when people are actually more present through our programs and just being here and trying to make it happen. So thanks for having us. And Jack, take it away.
Thanks, Afreka. So happy to be here. My name is Jack. I'm the CTO at Dumb & Co. And so I do the work on the Dumb phone, working on what we call Dumb OS, which is the technology that syncs your Dumb phone with your smartphone and lets you, be able to receive your texts and calls and sync your contacts and use, like you mentioned earlier, the some of the apps that can make it more frictionless to be without your smartphone, but to still have that dumb phone experience where you can be more offline and be more present. So I'm elder Gen Z or very young millennial. So I briefly did have a flip phone when I was in middle school, and then moved to the iPhone, the smartphone, when I was in high school. My journey was kind of, in the last year or two, was from kind of a tech angle where I was looking at what are the options out there for me to make that switch into being more offline and being more present and being less on the smartphone. And so I tried, a really old iPhone that actually the battery malfunctioned in my pocket and melted my SIM card to the phone. So I had to go a week without a phone at all because I was traveling, so I couldn't get a replacement SIM. I tried using these really tiny smartphones that still have a touch screen, but are this big, and they didn't quite work for me either. So when in DC, how I got involved with Dumb Co. is that there was a earlier iteration of it I read an article about the Luddite Club in New York, and it mentioned that there was a club or something happening in DC. I found an email. I got in touch with who is now our CEO, and he talked originally with me a year ago, and he had this idea about doing the smartphone dumb phone sync technology. And I remember not really getting it and not understanding why people wouldn't just go to a flip phone, which I had started to do. And then what came out of that and what came out of what my CEO was working on, the CEO was month offline, which I'm not sure if you heard about, but it's like it's a program that we do at Dumbco where people go a month without using their smartphone, and it's like a challenge. So I was, because I had already met and heard about things through the Luddite Club, I was actually the first person to call in and apply to do month offline. So I kind of got brought in for the communal element of it because it was really cool to do that with a group of people going like a whole month without your smartphone. So yeah, from there, I started to see from doing it with other people how that the technology could be used to help people be more offline. And so, yeah, I've been working on DumbOS and I see how that was a really good idea that people want to have that experience of being dumb and being on a dumb phone, but then we can help get people there by providing some of the things that they need.
Let me push back just a little bit. And I want to kind of like, when I went to your website, there are some things that come to mind. First of all, there are some very positive things like you have month offline, you have essentially the main product, which is the Dumb Co, right? You have the Dumb House, which I would like to get into to kind of like understand some of the findings and stuff that are happening in there. But there's also something that every time you click to that, there is this maybe difficulty for me and maybe for people that come into the space that there is also a money to be made in this equation, right? Like, there is a company behind this that is putting a product and you have a subscription, right? Like, although you own the phone, which is a good thing, I actually have seen places that work in the digital minimalism space and restrict your smartphone or do these things and they send you a phone but you don't own it, which is crazy to me, that you will charge a subscription to not own a device. That's completely bonkers. And you can buy the phone from you guys, commit, get that back, but there is that dissonance, right? Like that this is an offline movement, and the offline movement, a lot of the things that digital minimalists value is that freedom, that agency, right? And now there is this quote unquote corporate feel, right? Like, so how do you guys struggle through that to be like, we are an enterprise that is trying to help people create a lot of new experiences and offline, but also we're here to make money, right? Like what are some of, help me understand that tension, and please expand on the Dumb House. What is this concept that you guys came up with?
Good question. So I think we've had this discussion before, and I think it's a normal thing to think about, okay, well, we're doing something good, but then obviously there's a cost behind it. And I think something that's really important to remember is at the end of the day, this is something that we're really passionate about, of helping people to lead a life of more minimalism, right? There are a lot of devices that you can buy that are maybe, I was never that great at math, so if I say 10 times, then that's crazy. But there are a lot of devices that are a lot more expensive on the market. And I think our product is something that's relatively affordable. It's only $25 a month. For students, it's $14 a month. I think we were exploring conversations around, okay, well, what if someone else can't afford either of those prices? Is there a way for us to help them to afford something like this? So I think we're always looking on opportunities to make it as cost effective as possible for the consumer. But also at the end of the day, right, we have a group of 10 people in DC and New York working day in and day out to make a product work for people. And we have to ensure that, our team is doing well there. So I think, yes, there's some tension, but the reality is we can't always expect for people to come and just not be able to compensate them in any way. So I think that's kind of where we end up landing is, okay, even though that's the case, how can we, one, ensure that it's super affordable, right? $25 a month, like I said, but then also ensure that the team that's working on this is taken care of. But I totally understand where that's coming from. And I think that is something that we think about, especially to drive home this ethos around connection and community building and really growing a movement. to get people to be more present as well.
Yeah. And just to like add with that, I joined this whole experience to be with a group of people in community. And I had no idea that this could be anything where there was any money being charged for anything. Like I just did it all, after work for fun. And a lot of the initial work that I did was just, nights and weekends, because I really loved the mission and I loved the idea. But yeah, I think we are really ambitious here. Like we have visions of, having millions of people doing this, saving, millions and millions of hours being offline. And I think with that ambition comes, we want to make something really accessible, and we want to keep that that homegrown feel that I really like, what got me really interested at the beginning, while also being in a position where we can be a big cultural moment. So I think that's kind of where we've landed, I would say.
And I like to say that there are some things that I like about your process. You're doing these things in an approachable manner. Like the month offline, people can sign up. That one includes the phone, right? Like you sign up, you commit for that time period. And you also could sign up for, I think it's 4 months, and then you own the device, right? Like something like that. After 4 months of the monthly payment, you own the device, and then it's month to month. So it's not like you're locked into like a forever, never ending contract. So those things are understandable. But now a lot of people in the digital minimalism space would say, why can't I own it right away? Like, like why can I do that? So I think that's where the tension comes from a lot of people. And also another thing is, can you use the device as your only device? Is that a possibility? Or do I have to have a smartphone in order to sync all of these things? Because I understand the value proposition for somebody who is maybe a busy professional during the day, and they're thinking like, hey, I want to unplug in the evenings and during the weekends. But what about someone like me who has learned how to live without all of those conveniences and just wants to use the device because I think it's cool that you're integrating some of these apps?
I use it just as my standalone device. So I have my old smartphone just to test things, but people have asked this before, and even I asked it. I was like, well, I don't want to have to use a smartphone just to use our product. So you can do it that way. That's how I do it.
Now I want to turn into the other project that you guys have, which is the Dumb House. Like, what is the Dumb House and how does it work? Why is it happening? And what is the whole point of it?
Yeah. So I'll also say that Dumbco is the company, and the initiatives that we have include Month Offline and also includes Dumb House. And we're a new company, so a lot of new initiatives that we are considering in the future. But just so anyone listening has a better idea of who we are, Dumb House specifically targets students or just people between the ages of 18 to 24. And the whole idea is we get maybe 4+ friends that live in the same house, the same dorm, the same like dorm building or apartment building complex, to use our phones for the semester. And during the semester, each month, we will give them a $500 stipend towards rent or living expenses that they might need it for. And we check in with them just to understand, how's their product doing, how's it impacting their lives, just to get some feedback from them. And then also at the end of the semester, we have this analog creative challenge where the most creative house that produces this challenge wins $5,000. So there is a incentive financially for students to participate. And we have a couple campuses that are doing it right now: George Washington University in DC, and then also the University of Central Florida campus in Florida, UCF. And we started this in January, and we've been getting really good feedback and lovely updates from the team. And the whole idea is just to really get to Gen Zers, especially at that age, right? Like college age, where right now I think we're seeing a lot of sentiment of I'm too addicted to my phone or I'm scrolling too much. And so we kind of wanted to have this initiative to reach them. And so far, we have a couple houses going and now a lot more interest from different campuses around the country. And so as we continue to expand and as the semesters go by, I'm sure there'll be more updates to share with you. But that's the whole idea around the initiative there.
So it's essentially bringing people who are in a college campus to actually enjoy the college experience and to enjoy that and to maybe expand their creativity horizons, right? Like instead of just going to the phone, go to other things and start creating more campus life, as I recalled being in college and enjoying that with my friends. And then the advent of the smartphone came and kind of messed things up, not necessarily fully during my time, but I know it has been exponentially increasing since then. Now let's turn into what's different. I mean, you have a flip phone that works with my smartphone that links to it, but how are you more advantageous than, let's say, the small screen smartphones or the flip phones that are available in the market, or something like the Light Phone 2, the Punked MP02, devices that are more niche? What is it that makes Dumco unique? Are you using your own hardware? What is going on behind the scenes on that stuff?
Yeah. So one unique thing which Afreka touched on is the price point compared to some of those other devices that are pretty high end and are in like the hundreds of dollars plus a phone plan. So I think that's a big point that's important for us. But yeah, in terms of the technology itself, I think the big differentiator is that it's very opinionated. If a lot of the work is something that theoretically somebody, and that's kind of someone who is pretty advanced in tinkering, could get some of it done themselves. But what's cool about the product is that we are opinionated about it and we package working solutions for lots of different technical challenges. I'm not sure how in the weeds you want to get, but it's like the screen size and supporting WhatsApp and Uber require a particular, ability to navigate on a flip phone D-pad and have the right size so that you can sync with the QR code that WhatsApp provides. The syncing of contacts is like our own software that's like end-to-end encrypted and does like a seamless transfer. And so it's just a really opinionated thing so that a person can just plug and play and get going on being off of the phone. I think there's a lot of friction where somebody says they want a flip phone and yearn for it, but then there's a laundry list of things that people need to do to finish. And there are lots of tutorials online that do part of it. And it depends on the phone and the software and what your smartphone is. So the technology DumbOS is saying, I've been testing this and working on this, and it works on this phone, and it will work for your device. And if there's, some people have never had a flip phone before, so they need help on, using the D-pad and using T9. And so we have a dumb line that's open 24/7, and we provide amazing, we call it dumb care. And so, yeah, it's just reducing the friction of going dumb is where even these smaller smartphones, they have, it's like, can it do this? Well, you have to test it yourself and see if it works. Well, we know what works and we give you something that works. And yeah, what's really exciting about working here is how constantly it's like getting better and better. Has been really fun because there were things a couple months ago and like when I first talked to our CEO Danny a year ago, my first thought was that it is impossible to do this kind of sync thing because I had seen online how finicky it can be. But we do have a product that like we all use and it like does work, and we make it just better and better, make it work even better and better.
I wonder how it has changed your personal relationship, where you're coming from, and how has changed that personal relationship with your phone. And what have you heard from users? How has it changed their personal relationship with their phones? What are some of those positive and maybe negative areas that people have encountered as a result of using your product?
For me, I will say back in maybe 2024, as I mentioned before, part of what I used to do in work was like trend spotting and culture spotting. And I remember hearing about the dumb phone trend situation like 2024. I think it was trending on TikTok at the time or something like that. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. I don't know if I could ever live without my smartphone. And then I ended up deactivating my accounts that year. And I thought, okay, maybe I should try to find an alternative. But ever since I met the team and I put a flip phone in my hand, it was a really strange experience that I tell my friends, which is I just immediately felt like I just did not need to be on my phone that much anymore because it's not a device that you can scroll on infinitely. There's not a million things you can do. There are so many tabs you can have open. You're not getting inundated with so many notifications. So I immediately felt a sense of relief when I got the phone for the first time. And I think over the course of the past like almost 5 months since I've had one, I've become a lot more confident. I think genuinely when it comes to directions. I used to rely so much on maps to get me around even like my own block, which is insane. Um, and now I'm finding that I can remember landmarks and how to get around and navigate myself in a city so much easier to the point where I actually left my smartphone in DC on a work trip to New York a few months ago and navigated it completely fine. I mean, I'm here in one piece. And so I found that I have a lot more confidence in different areas of my life. My memory is a lot better. I can read through multiple chapters of a book without feeling an itch to scroll or pick up my phone. And I've noticed that in a lot of my friends and the people that I speak to who have also gotten the phone themselves. So I think there's a lot of positive there in terms of what we thought our capacity would have been without using our smartphones. I think, like Jack mentioned, and in all honesty, this will happen to anyone using the phone. There is friction, right? We've grown up in a world where everything is you get at your fingertips, as we like to say. And to have to type using your fingers on a T9 keyboard to get whatever you needed, there's a little bit of friction there. And so I think that's one thing that people talk about a lot is, maybe you can't send messages as quickly or as many at the same time as you normally would be able to. But then I think that opens up the typical option, which is what we used to do, which is just pick up the phone and call whoever you need to talk to, right? I think, yes, there's friction, but then that friction gives you the opportunity to just maybe revert back to how things used to be if you don't need to be texting someone all the time, or you can't send a million texts and maybe whatever the conversation topic is, just pick up the phone and call somebody. If some other issue happens with the phone or some complication or friction that you're finding, I think there's just always an opportunity to just do it the normal way. If you can't figure out something, like maybe just take the longer route home, you'll figure it out yourself. So I think those are some things from my end, but Jack, you can feel free to share.
There's kind of like an irony with the thinking about like friction and how it feels like frictionful to call somebody instead of texting them. But calling somebody is such a easier way to communicate, and it's such a more joyful way to communicate, and you can make plans way easier and get to know how somebody's day was way easier. So yeah, that's like and making plans has been so much easier because there's the constant changing of the plan as it's coming up is just like reduced a ton when people know that I'm using a flip phone and I call them and make the plan and I'm like, okay, it's going in the calendar and I have a physical calendar. And so that's like a kind of a small thing, but it's really hard to truly convey how transformative it is. I mean, we read all the articles and blog posts about how bad smartphone addiction is, but what's so cool about working at Dumbco is we get to relish in all the things you get when you are offline. It's like, I mean, I buy less stuff online because I'm not online shopping as much. I feel like I have a better attention span. I feel like I'm valuing more proximity, like my neighbors and the people that I work with. And I feel like my day is more doing what I wanted to do as opposed to feeling like the day got away from me. Because if you get home and don't have, a 2-hour time machine, which can be what a smartphone is sometimes, it just feels like I am able to spend my hours in more of a way that I want to. And of course, it's not perfect, and everybody has it's so different for everybody. But I just like feel so. It's time. It's getting time back. It's just spending more time outside and spending more time reading and spending more time talking to people. So it's really hard to really. It's just like getting several hours a day back to do whatever you want is just like a transformative experience.
It's also so interesting that you mentioned the call thing too, Jack, about that even being friction for our generation in a way, because nowadays I call people so much and sometimes I'll get a response from them that's like, oh, do you just want to text me or email me? And I'm like, no, I just wanted to hear your voice for 5 minutes because people just aren't used to people picking up the phone anymore. So that's, yeah.
I want to learn a little bit more as we are starting to wrap up about what the mission is behind the company, but towards the future, right? A lot of companies have popped up since I would say 2022, when we started to recognize that we had this digital fatigue. And there have been a lot of solutions, right? Like the small smartphones, the niche devices, the e-ink, Dumbco. But a lot of people think, who can I trust that's going to be there over the long term? And what are the principles that are undergirding that to say, well, right now, for example, I know you guys are coming up with a new release on the Dumb Phone 2, and it has three versions, right? So it has the one that has Spotify, the one that has Uber, Maps, and one that is more bare bones, only with WhatsApp, Uber, Maps. Like there's different configurations, right? One that allows you to get all of the messages from your Android and iMessage. So what prevents you from all of a sudden adding email, Instagram? I'm just going to put like the terrible ones out there, So because I want to understand, why should people trust you that you're going to remain here for the long term, and what are the principles behind the company?
I'll say for us, for the mission, really, it's just about providing these companion devices, which is what we're calling them, to smartphones with only what you need, so you can focus on literally everything else. As Jack said, get your time back so you can read more or create more or pour into something that maybe you've been too distracted with your devices to be able to do. And that's really what we want, right? For people to be looking at what's right in front of them and creating from it, and living life more authentically and more presently instead of being distracted by something. And so that's really, I think, our grounding point there. And I think in terms of long haul, I mean, we are a bunch of like Gen Z people who have recognized this issue of presence. And I think this is something that we talk about a lot, which is we are the first generation, or rather maybe the last generation actually, to be living in a world without like smartphones, right? This is our reality. We are digital natives. And what kind of issues has that brought up in our society for especially for our generation? And what we see a lot is like this loneliness epidemic, this friendship recession. And a lot of us are really passionate about that because of the ways that it's affected us and the society around us. And so when it comes to longevity, we believe in that future where people are more connected, where they feel more present, where they're not feeling as addicted to their device. And we want to continue working toward that future. So I think in terms of, are you just here for, I don't know, a year or two? No, not at all. I mean, this is something we're going to keep pushing towards. But Jack, you can add there too.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about, what if we added email or something in the future, or what if we kind of lose those values? I think what has really set us up for success is that the initial, myself and our CEO, we had flip phones before this company existed. Like we were following the principles of this company that didn't exist already. So, and a lot of the people that work here did month offline. That's what's cool about month offline, is that it brings people together who want to do this and who do the challenge. And so we are building a company of people who believe in the mission and who lived the values of the company before. I mean, in terms of before I even knew that that this could be a job. So there is always going to be a tension and a gray area of like, how do we make it easier for people to adopt this companion device by doing things that a smartphone can do? And, when I was full flip phone, we used to say things like, it has Uber on it, WhatsApp and Maps. We used to say in month offline, I don't want to spoil too much of month offline, anyone wants to do it, but I'll just say I would have, if I would let myself get lost, back in the day, and would ask people for directions. And so we used to say, we don't need maps. You need to ask people for directions if you get lost, or you need to call a friend if you get lost. So we're kind of all on the side of the digital monk and are always pulling it in that direction. And so email was like such a no-brainer it was like, one of the first things on my to-do list was like, how do we disable email? Because even some flip phones let you try it. I guess theoretically, we didn't even try it. We didn't even test if it was possible, because that was just like a total, like, that'll never happen. Like email is such a thing that can happen at a computer and not on the go. But yeah, I mean, what's also cool about us and is a big differentiator is that we are always, using a flip phone gives you hardware limitations by design. Like infinite scroll will never be an amazing experience on a flip phone. And that's what's great about that hardware. And that's what we like about it. So I think the hardware, and yeah, some of the dumb OS stuff, I start to, it isn't a supercomputer smartphone. So I will reach the limit of what the software and the hardware can do. And that's kind of, sometimes it can be tough in my day to day, but that's a good thing, because that means like the physical makeup of our product is part of what's keeping our mission alignment.
I'll also add really quickly that the mission piece is really important to us. And even for me, and I guess people will find out when they listen to this, I was fully in Florida when I met our CEO. And I believed so much in the mission because I had done a lot of research and spoken to a lot of Gen Zers around the country, even around the loneliness crisis. And to the point where I actually picked up and moved in a matter of a week from Florida to DC to come and help build what we're trying to do. We are all really passionate about this, and trying to get to that world where people feel that they can be more present and be more connected because of everything that's going on in terms of the loneliness and friendship recession and things like that too. And also in terms of social media, I mean, we don't even market using social media. We have a LinkedIn account that we don't use just for visibility there, but we're not planning on going on Instagram or TikTok or other social media platforms anytime soon. So these are just certain things that to us are really important for our mission, what we stand for. So I just wanted to add that color in there too.
So as you mentioned right there, your company is not thinking about social media, not thinking about these things, but people do need to find you. And I want to give you this opportunity as we start closing to give us, the listeners, some advice. Hey, what can they do to interact with you if they're in the Washington, D.C. area or the New York City area? But what can they do if they don't live nearby? What is something that you recommend people start trying out so that they can live more fully offline?
I think in terms of getting connected with us, we actually have a really open and available team. I think Jack mentioned we even have dumb care where we'll sit in the office and just call some of our users to ask how the process is going. Because we really want to help anyone who might be experiencing friction or have any questions. We also have an open email on our website. It's hi@offline.community. And if you email us, we get right in contact with you. So there are ways. There's also the hotline number. Jack, feel free to state what that number is because I can't remember it off the top of my head.
Yeah, we have a hotline number that is open 24/7. It's 404-716-3605. It actually is plugged into a rotary phone at the office. So
I think those are ways that we've been able to just connect with people. And interesting enough, we've actually been getting emails from people all over the world. We got an email from someone in Qatar and I think Ireland recently and maybe Singapore. So we've been getting a lot of I don't know exactly where everyone's finding us, but clearly there's something happening where people are emailing us from all over the world asking, certain questions and if they can get our product and all of these things. So I think join our month offline program if you're curious about us. Visit our website and participate in that and get connected with our community and what we're building. We also have it in New York, like I mentioned. Feel free to call or email us at any time. We'll get back to you, as we do with everyone else who does. And yeah, I think those are the ways that we've been able to cut through, just follow us on Instagram. Because I also think sometimes you follow these accounts that are run by these brands and you're not really able to talk to them that much, right? You're just a follower. Whereas you have access to our email, you can give us a call and there's an actual real person behind that who's going to be responding to you.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, both of you. I really appreciate our conversation, understanding a little bit more about Dumco, and hopefully people get to visit your website. And, I'll be linking all of those things in the description of the podcast. But I always like to give you guys the opportunity for a final word. So whatever you guys want to say, go for it.
I guess I'll say, yeah, using a flip phone has changed my life, and I will be doing this for forever because I think it's the future, and it's just made me feel more myself. And so I am so excited that people are thinking about this more, and I hope we can be part of a way for people to give it a try themselves.
Yeah. For me, I would say it's also about choice, which I think is really important for anyone listening to remember, because obviously we live in a very modern, hyper-tech world, and there are a lot of things that have become almost really dependent on you having a smartphone. When I was in DC, like that trip that I mentioned, I actually couldn't get into one of my banking apps online because I needed to do a push notification on my smartphone that was obviously in a whole other city. So for some of us who are users of our device, like some people use it only on the weekends, some people use it after work, some people use it only when they're at work. People can find a schedule that works for them as to when they want to unplug, because we completely understand that the world that we live in, there are people who are going to be needing to be on their smartphones for a certain amount of time throughout the day. And so, yes, there will be friction still, but if you are someone who sees yourself wanting to spend less time on your phone, but you feel like this is maybe, you having to be completely off of it, we completely understand that there are different people around the country, around the world, who are going to have a different relationship with our device. Jack, like he mentioned, he's completely on his phone, the RTCL. And so I just wanted to also say that, like, it's about giving you the choice back to opt in when you want to and opt out when you feel like it. Because I think these days it feels like this is the only choice that you have, is to be scrolling and to be on it all the time.
That was Jack and Afreka from Dumb & Co. Make sure to check out their links in the description of this podcast. And I thank you for the support, for listening to this podcast. And if it was valuable and helpful, or somebody that may need their services and their phone, make sure to send it to them so that they can check out some of the content and understand a little bit more. And if you're a college student and you want your house and your college area to be dumb next year, make sure to also reach out to them so you can not only do it yourself, but also with friends in college and do that experience. All of their information will be in the description of this podcast. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.